organic versus local. There's obviously, sometimes they get lumped into the same category, but do you feel like it's more or less important for one or the other, or both?
I mean, for me, I would prefer local as opposed to organic, just because, you know, you want to use ingredients that are closer to you, and that I think they would be fresher since they are local. But for my type of cuisine that I do at Pig and Cow, it's really difficult to have things be organic and local, because it's just, you know, the ingredients that we get are basically from a different country.
What about for your menu?
Well, you know, I agree with you as well. I do tend to prefer local to organic, but also because, you know, it is, especially when you're supporting local, especially within a certain radius around New York City, there's smaller farms, there's smaller farm co-ops that actually do practice organic practices or biodynamic practices, but they can't get the certification because it's just very expensive.
Yeah.
And and so while they can't advertise as organic, they're very conscious of the way that they are either raising their livestock or the way that they are harvesting and the way they are growing and what they're using as far as pesticides. So I do feel that that local, especially small local farms, are trying to practice and have been practicing that way. They just can't get the certification.
So is it more important to know where your food is coming from rather than like, this has this organic particular certification?
I think it's nice to have the closer relationship or the more personal relationship you can have, if at all possible, with the history or the background or the person that is growing or whatnot of the food that you're selling. I think is great. You know, I think it's something to be conscious of if you can, you know.
What about in the wine industry? There's obviously both local and organic wines.
Well, I think, you know, it comes down to an experiential thing. Like for guests that want to have organic wines, it's easy because organic wines are made all over the world. And locally, there are producers that are working organically, but most of the time, people don't want to exclusively drink wines from New York. Right. Although there are great wines from New York, for sure. But the wine culture kind of, people like to move around, and on the wine list we have here at Pearl and Ash, it's definitely leans more towards Europe. Yeah. But within that realm, there's a lot of organic. So it's not unimportant for me to source locally. It's more about having the wines that people are excited about drinking internationally. Right. Not to say less about local wines, because there are great wines coming out of Finger Lakes and Long Island, but it's an issue too of a young region, and you know those areas have been making wine for a lot less time than they have in, say, Burgundy or the Rhone Valley.
Very, very diplomatic way to put it. Do you guys find that customers care more about one or the other? Do you have people asking, you know, coming in and saying, oh, you know, where is your produce from, or is it organic? I mean, do you find people talking about that?
I wonder if sometimes though people now, it's almost, especially in New York, it's come to a level of that people, you know, they expect restaurants to be conscious of it. So I almost, you know, I don't find as many people. I do have people asking for organic wine or biodynamic wine, but as far as where the food is being sourced from, I almost wonder if they've gotten to a level of expecting the restaurant to be conscious of that. And to they don't ask too much about it, but at Meadow Sweet, our restaurant was inspired by our time up in Hudson Valley, so we try to work with as many people up there. So some people do ask a little bit about that, but I don't find them asking too much in the food area, but they do ask a lot more. I've noticed in the wine area, to go back to what you were saying, I really have noticed an increase over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think the word biodynamic is becoming a more common verbiage with wine. I don't know if it is with food. I don't know if people...
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if your restaurant isn't like, you know, a farm to table, like you obviously are not serving that kind of cuisine, do people care more or less?
I mean, I think people, depending on the type of restaurant it is, they expect certain places to be more farm to table, and you know, Southeast Asian can't really be farm
like
to
you
table.
hope some of the stuff is not local.
Right,
so
exactly.
Grow.
But I mean, I do have a lot of customers asking about like our meat and our fish and where we get stuff like that, and we do try to use as local products as we can. I don't think people are asking as much because they do expect, you know, things to, and if to be at a higher level, I think, in New York City, and also if they've gotten used to people saying where things are from on the menu.
Right.
So,
do any of you put that on your menus? Like, this is from this farm. So, I mean, obviously on a wine list, you usually see the place of origin, but do you see it in any of the food?
I personally don't, because I feel like just menu descriptions alone are
Right.
super wordy.
If someone wants to know, they can ask.
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't do any indication from what's biodynamic on the wine list. Maybe, I think only because, again, I think maybe sometimes too much information, and that's when you have, I think, a staff that's educated that knows that stuff, and they can communicate that information. Usually, it's better. For me, it's better if somebody says, "I'm looking for a biodynamic wine," or have an interest in biodynamic winemaking, and you know, what wineries do you have? That helps to create the dialogue for the sommeliers in the dining room, which I think is, in the end, becomes a better experience.
Well, thank you guys for helping us decipher the organic versus local continuing debate. Really appreciate it.